Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming CIMA operational case study examinations happening in February 2024. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for OCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. So as I've been mentioning throughout the series of webinars which we have conducted, I mentioned the fact that out of the 4 webinars which we are conducting, this is the most important one. And hopefully you'd understand how important this is and why you need to stick to these guidelines, which I'm going to provide in today's webinar. So first things first, I'm going to highlight an answering technique, which you need to adhere to as well as practice in order to ensure a first time pass at your OCS exam. And on top of that, I will also talk about time management techniques as part of the answering technique itself, because it's of utmost importance that you manage your time appropriately. Most of the time, students end up failing the OCS exam, not because they have they lack knowledge, but because they run out of time when developing their answers at the real exam. So, as I've mentioned earlier in the first webinar, I said that you are supposed to play the role of a finance officer. So the CIMA examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So in a real life corporate environment, if you run out of time when trying to respond, to your superiors, it's as if you are providing incomplete answers or half-hearted answers at your exam. If that is the case, there's absolutely no way that you'd pass your exam. So it's of utmost importance that you manage your time appropriately. So if you keep practicing our answering technique, you are in a position to manage your time appropriately as well. And all these answering and time management techniques, the technicalities, I will talk about the technicalities behind it. And on top of that, utilizing a mini mock, which we have already uploaded onto our website. I take you through the question as well as its answer. Whilst taking you through the answer, I'll explain how these answering and time management techniques are supposed to be implemented in a practical manner. So I'm talking about the technicalities behind answering as well as time management techniques, as well as I'll be highlighting practical implementation of these techniques as well, so that you are best poised to understand how to do it on your own as well. Okay, so before we get into the technical nitty-gritties, let me remind you about the upcoming webinars and workshops which we have scheduled for you. Mind you, all these webinars and workshops are conducted free of charge, and these webinars and workshops are developed with the intention of sharing technical information about you in order to ensure that you achieve a first-time pass. And on top of that, the workshops are designed to ensure that you understand how to develop answers which are focused on E1, P1, as well as F1 syllabi. After attending each of these workshops, you'd understand, what type of answers you are supposed to develop when, different theoretical or different questions covering theoretical elements are thrown at you. So that's exactly what would happen in the first 2 Q&As. And in the final Q&A, I will, give you tips pertinent to what you need to do to, maintain a high level of confidence, because as per the CIMA examiner, confident students end up passing the exam comfortably. So it's of utmost importance that you have a positive attitude, especially closer to the exam. So in the 4th webinar, exam prep, which is happening next Sunday, I will highlight what you need to do to develop a positive attitude, to develop a high level of confidence. And in the final Q&A, I'll again mention, what you need to do to maintain a positive attitude closer to the exam. So I hope you'd, take part of these webinars as well as workshops, which we have scheduled for you in the coming weeks. So on a weekly basis, you can keep in touch with us, and whenever you face issues when conducting your preparations, you can, raise these concerns at these webinars, and we are happy to help you guys out. Okay, so let's get into the technicalities pertaining to answering techniques. So when developing answers, most students out there, what they do is they read the scenario and straight away they'd start typing the answer, fully fledged answer. But that should not be the case. You should not do that, because if you start typing the answer without spending some time to structure it or to plan it out, then halfway through the answer, if you realize that you are headed in the wrong direction, you'd have to delete your entire answer. And once you do it, in the back of your mind, you'd know for a fact that you had wasted your time. And when that happens, this leads to stress. And when you are stressed, you'd panic. And once you panic, that's the end of the exam for you, because let's assume you screwed up your task number 1, and this negativity will be carried forward to tasks 2, 3, and 4 as well. Okay, so in order to avoid such a situation, what I want you guys to do is to stick to these answering techniques which we are highlighting. So first things first, when developing your answers, or in other words, when developing answer plans, you are supposed to use appropriate headings and subheadings. So for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading, which is in bold and underlined format. And within the same subtask, if you feel that you need to further fraction out your answer, then you are welcome to utilize subheadings, and subheadings should be in bold format. Okay, so let me quickly tell you what I'm talking about. I'll show you a question. So this is the mini mock which you can find on our website under the free content. So in it, if you look at task number 1 as well as 2, there are 3 subtasks each. And for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading, which is in bold and underline format. Do not mention the task number, or do not stick to a numbering process. Instead, simply, utilize a main heading, or develop a main heading per each subtask. Why am I asking you guys to do it? I'm not actually saying asking you to do it. It's actually the examiner who's requesting you to do it, because as I mentioned earlier, your questions are thrown at you in the format of an email. Your finance manager or some other board member is sending you an email, so you are supposed to respond to it. Why? Because the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So that's exactly what you do at office as well. So for each and every subtask, just like what you do when sending an email to your boss, what you need to do is you need to come up with a main heading. So for the first, with regards to the first question, there are 3 subtasks: subtask A, subtask B, and subtask C. And within the answer plan, you'd understand what this is, in a while. So for each subtask, I've come up with a main heading, which is in bold and underlined format. So this is the first main heading. Then the second main heading, which is in bold and underlined format. And the third main heading, again in bold and underlined format. And I said, if you want to further fraction out the answer, you are welcome to utilize subheadings. And that's exactly what you can see here. I've utilized different subheadings in here when developing my answer. So each subheading needs to be in bold format. Okay, so that's the first step which you need to adhere to when developing your answers. Okay, so use appropriate headings and subheadings. Then when providing answers, you are supposed to come up with paragraphs which consists of 2 to 4 sentences. So you use headings and subheadings. After determining headings and subheadings, then you know what you're supposed to highlight under each and every heading or subheading. So you are supposed to come up with bullet points. Keep it simple. I do not want you guys to write fully fledged answers. Instead, you are supposed to develop something called an answer plan. So you have your headings as well as subheadings, and under each heading and subheading, you are supposed to come up with something called an answer plan, or an answer structure. So this is a summary of what you are supposed to type in your fully fledged answer. You would understand what this is later on when I take you through the answer of the mini mock. Okay. And once you have all these points, when it comes to developing your fully fledged answer or typing out your fully fledged answer, you need to provide answers in paragraphs. So each paragraph needs to consist of 2 to 4 line sentences, nothing more, nothing less. You're not supposed to provide answers in bullet points. You are not supposed to provide answers in single line sentences. Instead, for instance, let's assume your answer plan has 7 valid points. For each point, you need to come up with a paragraph. So if there are 7 valid points within your answer plan, then in your fully fledged answer, you need to have 7 paragraphs. Okay. And for another subtask, there might be just 4 points within your answer plan. If that is the case, in your fully fledged answer, you need to have 4 paragraphs of answers. So why am I supposed to provide answers in paragraphs? Because most of the time when students are clueless of how to develop answers, they write everything, all the answer points within one single paragraph. So when that happens, the examiner will not, the marker actually, the invigilator won't be really satisfied with what you are doing, because it becomes extremely hard to pick and select valid points when you had written everything together within one single paragraph. So although you are taking 3 hours to attempt the entire paper, when it goes to marking, the marker only takes somewhere around 7 to 10 minutes. So within 7 to 10 minutes, if the marker has to go pick and select your answer points, then you are not in the good books of the marker. It's better to be in the good books of the marker, because if you are on the fence, let's assume you have gotten 78 marks, you just need 2 marks to pass. If you're in the good books, in the head of the marker, then he or she would give you the 2 additional marks. So make the life of the marker easy. Stick to the guidelines provided by the CIMA examiner. You are supposed to provide answers in paragraphs. Don't include all the points in one single paragraph. Instead, fraction it out so that the marker can easily understand how many points you have highlighted. The marker can easily understand which of the points are valid and which of the points are invalid. Then the marker can easily give you marks. And if that is the case, you are creating a positive attitude when it comes to the mentality of the marker. So if that is the case, you'd end up getting additional marks. Okay. So utilize paragraphs, which consists of 2 to 4 sentences or 2 to 4 line sentences. Then when it comes to time management, as you know, each task consists of, for each task, the time allocation is 45 minutes. So when developing your answers, 1/3 of the time should be allocated towards reading the scenario and coming up with the answer plan. And 2/3 of the time should be allocated towards expanding the answer plan or typing out your fully fledged answer. So out of the 45 minutes, 5 minutes should be allocated towards reading the scenario and understanding the information provided, understanding what you're supposed to achieve, what the requirement is. So that's the first 5 minutes. That's what you are supposed to do. Then in the remaining 15 to 20 minutes, you should develop something called an answer plan. So this is when you plan out your answer. This is when you structure out your answer. This is when you are deciding what to include and what not to include within the answer. And once you are done with it, utilizing the remaining 25 minutes, you are supposed to expand your answer plan. So let me repeat these points again. The first 5 minutes should be allocated towards reading the question or reading the scenario. Then allocate 15 to 20 minutes to develop something called an answer plan. And once you have developed the answer plan, utilize the remaining 25 minutes to expand the answer in paragraph format so that you end up developing your fully fledged answer. And the expected typing speed is a minimum of 20 words per minute. If your typing speed is not up to par, you'd waste a lot of time. So if you feel that your typing speed is not up to standard, there are so many platforms out there, free platforms, which will help you, overcome this barrier. So utilize these platforms to get your typing speed up, or else you'd always run out of time. All right. Then when developing these answer plans, you need to know how many points you need to include within each and every subtask. So how can you understand this? You can determine the number of points you are supposed to highlight within each subtask by looking at the mark allocation, or by looking at the weightage provided. So by understanding the weightage provided, you are in a position to understand the mark allocations. And once you know how many marks are allocated for each and every subtask, then you can easily determine how many valid points need to appear under each answer plan. So let me quickly tell you what this is about. So for instance, if you look at task number 1, section 1, subtask A, the weightage provided is 35%. For subtask B, the weightage provided is 30%, and subtask C, the weightage provided is 35%. So based on these weightages, you can easily determine how many marks are allocated. So this is what I'm talking about. So in total, your entire paper, has 150 marks, carries 150 marks. So out of which 150 divided by 4 comes up to 37.5 marks per task. So once you know how many marks are allocated on a task by task basis, then you can easily compute, based on the weightages provided, how many marks are allocated for each and every subtask. So for the first subtask, the weightage provided is 35%. So that's 35% of 37.5 marks, which comes up to 13 marks. And for the second subtask, the weightage provided is 30%. So 30% of 37.5 marks is 11.5 marks, and likewise. So once you know how many marks are allocated, then you can determine how many points each answer plan needs to consist of. So if 13 marks are allocated, for each valid point, you'd get 2 to 3 marks. So if 13 marks are allocated within your answer plan, you need to have 5 to 6 valid answer points. And on the other hand, if 11.5 marks are allocated, again, you need to have something like 5 answer points within your answer plan. And again, when 13 marks are allocated for the third subtask, you need to have 5 to 6 valid points. That's how you are supposed to determine how many points you need to include within or include under each and every subtask. Based on this, you develop the answer plan. And once you know how many points you need to include within your answer plan, then you'd know how many paragraphs you'd have within each and every answer. So for the first subtask, if you came up with 6 valid points, then when typing out your fully fledged answer, you need to have 6 paragraphs. So for the second subtask, if you had 5 valid points, then in your fully fledged answer, you need to have 5 paragraphs, and likewise. Okay, so that's what you are supposed to do when developing answers. So this is a foolproof method, because you are not blindly developing answer plans. You are not blindly coming up with answer points. Instead, you are trying to understand how many marks are allocated for each subtask, and based on the mark allocations, you are determining how many answer points need to appear within your answer, and based on it, you are coming up with your fully fledged answer. And always remember, do not spend time on formatting. Don't be concerned about paragraph alignment and whatnot. The only type of formatting which you need to be conversant with is with regards to using a heading per subtask, which needs to be in bold and underline format. You can utilize subheadings as well. If that is the case, that needs to be in bold format. And for each answer point, you need to come up with a paragraph which consists of 2 to 4 sentences. Okay, so that's the only type of formatting which you need to be conversant about. Other than that, disregard everything else. And remember, it's always about the quality of the quality of the points which you have highlighted. So I've seen students out there going for quantity. If you go for quantity, you're not going to get marks just because there's a lot of words within your answer. Or if you provide an extremely lengthy answer, you're not going to get marks. Instead, the examiner is looking at, or the invigilator is looking at, the quality of your points. So if you adhere to this answering technique, you'd never run out of time. And on top of that, since you are thinking about the weightages provided for each subtask, based on it, since you are determining how many answer points which needs to appear within each answer, you'd never fail the OCS exam. So just because you know this, you cannot get it right. You need to practice it, because although I'm asking you to allocate 5 minutes to read the scenario and 15 to 20 minutes to develop an answer plan, when you try to do it for the first time, you take 45 minutes to develop the answer plan. So in order to get this right, you need to keep practicing these techniques every time, or each time you are practicing the mock exam. So we have developed 5 mock exams. So in each mock exam, there are 4 tasks. So 4 tasks into 5 mock exams comes up to 20 tasks in total. So if you stick to these guidelines, if you keep practicing these techniques, you'd be practicing answering and time management techniques 20 times over. That's enough and more practice for you to get it right at your real exam. So as I mentioned earlier, just because you know these techniques, you can't get it right. You need to keep practicing it. That's why we have developed 5 mock exams. So keep practicing these techniques when attempting each of your mock exams. Then at the exam, you'd actually enjoy the time, because you'd never run out of time. You'd come up with highly relevant answers, well thought out, well planned, and well structured answers. The examiner is looking at quality. So that's exactly what you'd achieve if you adhere to these guidelines. All right. So let's look at how you are supposed to practically do it. So first things first, you are supposed to read the scenario. I said you are supposed to allocate 5 minutes, because this is a professional qualification. So in an educational in an academic qualification, someone is testing your theoretical knowledge. But in a professional qualification, just because you know theory, you cannot pass the exam. You need to have the capability to apply your knowledge, considering the information which is presented within the scenario. So you need to, when reading the scenario within 5 minutes, you need to really understand the most important points which are highlighted. So if your reading speed is not up to par, start working on it right now. Again, there are so many platforms out there which will help you improve your reading speed, because you need to have the capability to read the entire scenario within 5 minutes. So that's the first step. Read the scenario. After reading the scenario, plot the requirements into headings and subheadings. So if there are, as I mentioned earlier, within a certain task, if there are 3 subtasks, then within your answer, you need to have 3 main headings which are in bold and underline format. And let's assume in task number 2, there were only 2 subtasks. If that is the case, within your answer, you need to have 2 main headings and likewise. Okay, so once you had come up with headings and subheadings, then you are supposed to invest time to understand the requirement clearly. This is the most crucial thing. This is exactly why I said you are not supposed to, right after reading the scenario, you are not supposed to type out the fully fledged answer, because, if you do not spend some time to understand the exact requirement, you might start typing something else which is totally irrelevant to the requirement. If that is the case, you'd end up failing the exam. So spend some time to understand the requirement clearly. So, I've asked you to develop headings and subheadings. So this actually helps you achieve this. So the best way to make sure that you understand the requirement clearly is to reiterate the requirement in your own words in a simplified form, so that you can always refer to what you have reiterated in your own words, and keep constantly keep reminding yourself about what you are supposed to achieve or what type of an answer you are supposed to develop. You'd understand what I'm talking about when I take you through the mini mock. So for now, just remember that you are supposed to invest time to understand the requirement clearly. So the best way to achieve this is to come up with or reiterate the requirement in your own words in a simplified format. Okay. Then once you have understood the requirement clearly, you are supposed to focus on developing the answer plan. So this is where you are supposed to allocate something like 15 to 20 minutes per task. Okay. So you allocate 15 to 20 minutes, and within that time period, based on the weightage provided for each and every subtask, you determine how many answer points you need to include within your answer. Then once you know the number of answer points which needs to appear within your answer, based on it, you start thinking and planning out your answer. So when planning out your answer, keep it simple, keep it short as much as possible. Do not type out your answer plan in paragraphs, because the crucial within these 15 to 20 minutes, the most important element is to plan out the answer, not to type out the answer. Okay. So when it comes to planning or structuring your answer, keep it simple, keep it short, because this is something like a mind map which you are developing. And once you have a mind map, or when you have an answer plan, then when it comes to typing out the fully fledged answer, your life becomes extremely easy. Because when it comes to typing, you're not supposed to think. Instead, you have planned out your answer previously. So when it comes to expanding the answer plan, it's just about typing out your answer. So you're not supposed to multitask at your real exam, because if you try to do it, it leads to stress. So in order to avoid unnecessary stress, what you are supposed to do is allocate 15 to 20 minutes to plan out your answer. And once you had planned it, then you know what to type. So utilizing your remaining 25 minutes, it's just about expanding the answer plan or the answer points which you have highlighted within the answer plan. And when developing the answer plan, where are you supposed to do it? I've seen students when planning out their answers using the scratch pad. I do not recommend it, because you'd have to keep shifting between your answer screen as well as the scratch pad, which is a cumbersome process. Under exam stress, you might miss out certain points which you have highlighted within your answer plan, which appears within the scratch pad. And when trying to expand your answer plan, you might miss out on a point. So in order to avoid these type of inefficiencies, what I want you to do is, when developing the answer plan, do it on the answer screen itself, so that you need not switch between screens. You will not miss out points which you have thought about previously when typing out your fully fledged answer. Instead, your life becomes easy. Once you have the answer plan on the answer screen itself, it's just a matter of expanding each answer point um, in a paragraph format. Okay. So that's what you're supposed to do. Plan the answer in the answer screen itself, then expand the points which we have highlighted within the answer plan. Okay, so that's what you are supposed to do. Any questions up until now? So in a while, I'll show you how to practically do all these things. Until then, any questions? I'm going to pause the recording. All right, folks. So seems like there aren't any more questions. So I've highlighted the answering and time management techniques. And now I'm going to move into the mini mock to show how these things are done in a practical sense. So before I do that, let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS. So, we offer two main packages, the value pack and the premium package. So the value pack is designed for students who had completed their CIMA OTQ examination. So if you are coming through the CIMA general route, since you had finished your OTQ exams, you have the necessary level of theoretical knowledge. So because of that, focused on these type of students who are conversant with theory, we have developed the value pack. So the value pack comes with recordings of all the webinars which we are conducting. And you'd also gain access to 5 mock exams with suggested answers. So mind you, these mock exams have exam standard and pre-seen specific. And we have made sure to cover all syllabus areas so that you won't get shocked at your real exam. So if you are to cover the entire syllabus, you have to attempt all these 5 mock exams. If that is the case, there's absolutely nothing for you guys to worry at the real exam. And the value pack also comes with the pre-scene analysis videos. So, I did a pre-scene analysis session in my previous webinar. If you missed out on it, you can access the recorded version via the paid as well as free content. So there are 4 videos in total. So within these 4 videos, we have analyzed the pre-scene in depth. So once you watch these 4 pre-scene analysis videos, you would have an in-depth understanding about what happens within your chosen company, its industry, as well as what its financial statements indicate. And you'd also gain access to the annotated pre-scene. Let me show you what the annotated pre-scene looks like. So this is a pre-scene which was relevant for a previous sitting. So as you can see, the most important points have been taken out as annotations so that your life becomes easy. You can easily understand or pick and select the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-scene document. And on top of that, as part of these annotations, we have highlighted any syllabus content which can be tested at the exam and probable scenarios which can be tested as well. So as you can see throughout the pre-scene document, we have come up with annotations. So these annotations are a good summary for you to understand what's highlighted within the pre-scene. So you need not spend any time to analyze the pre-scene on your own, because you cannot do it properly because you are still at the OCS level. Once you are done with all 3 case studies, you would be totally conversant about how to analyze a pre-scene document. But for now, we have done it for you. So simply by referring to the annotated pre-scene, you'd understand the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-scene in a summarized format. And you'd also gain access to industry and financial analysis slides. So let me quickly show you what these things are. So our industry analysis slides consists of 4 main elements. We are providing an overview into the industry so that you can gain an in-depth understanding about what your industry is about. Then we are also highlighting about the competitive landscape. Then we are highlighting industry trends, because based on these industry trends, questions will be thrown at you at the real exam. And at the very end, real world examples are also provided so that you can easily understand what happens within the industry in a real sense. Okay, so you need not spend time to conduct your own industry analysis, because we consider it to be a waste of time. Instead, simply refer to these set of slides so that you can gain an in-depth understanding about what happens within the industry. And you'd also gain access to the financial analysis slides. So as I told you earlier, towards the very end of the pre-scene document, you'd have access to the financial statements of the company. So you need to analyze the financial statements to see and identify where the company is headed, as well as the financial situation of the company. So we have made your life easy again. We have conducted all these evaluations, and we have kept it simple so that you can easily and quickly understand what's highlighted within the financial statement. So the same should be said about the statement of financial position. A similar approach or an evaluation had been carried out, and we have evaluated the statement of cash flows as well. And at the very end, a ratio analysis is conducted, and each ratio had been evaluated in depth. Again, the evaluations, we have kept them simple and concise so that you can easily gain an understanding about the financial situation of the company. So these are the type of resources you'd gain access to under the value pack. And it also comes with top 10 likely issues, which highlights the type of issues or scenarios which will be predominantly tested at your exam. It also comes with a case study familiarization kit so that you can gain an understanding about the technicalities behind the OCS exam within just 10 to 15 minutes. And you'd also have access to a tutor managed live chat, and you'd gain access to OTQ revision cards. So as I told you earlier, the value pack is designed for students who had completed their OTQs. So when preparing for your case study examinations, it's better to brush up your knowledge pertinent to theoretical elements. So the best and easiest way to achieve this is by referring to our OTQ revision cards. So this value pack is priced at £199. And then let's move on to the premium package. So if you look at the premium package, this is designed specifically for students who are coming through the exemption route, such as the FLP, as well as students who had failed their OCS exam previously. So most of the students who are coming through the exemption route, the major shortcoming which they encounter is with regards to theoretical knowledge. Because although you have completed some type of financial qualification, or you might be halfway through a financial qualification, although this is the case, most students who are coming through FLP are clueless about the P1 syllabus. So your OCS exam is highly P1 heavy. P1 and F1 related elements, if you look at the weightage, it's 80%. The weightage provided for E1 is just 20%. So if you do not know your P1, if there are gaps in knowledge pertaining to F1, then there's absolutely no way that you'd end up passing the OCS exam, primarily given the fact that the OCS exam tests your theoretical knowledge, technical knowledge. So this is a theory heavy paper. So in such an environment, you need to learn theory, but you don't have too much time in your hands. You need to learn theory within a short period of time. And if you had failed the OCS exam previously, the most significant or the most prominent reason for failure is gaps in theoretical knowledge. So with this in mind, with these shortcomings in mind, we have specifically developed study material for you. So if you go for the premium package, you would gain access to all the study material which comes with the premium package. On top of that, you'd also gain access to the online mock exam platform which we have developed, which we have developed an exam platform which is akin to the Pearson VUE system you'd use at your real exam. So I've highlighted answering and time management techniques, and I said that you need to, in order to get these answering and time management techniques right, you need to practice these techniques, and the best way to practice them under exam conditions is via the exam platform which we have developed. So when attempting each of the 5 mock exams, you can do it under exam conditions via the exam platform which we have developed, thereby getting yourself accustomed to exam stress as well as an exam environment. And on top of that, having the opportunity to practice answering and time management techniques so that you can get it right at your real exam. You'd also gain access to one-on-one tutor feedback on 3 mocks, namely mocks 3, 4, and 5. The first 2 mocks are developed to ensure that you gain an understanding about or you get your bearings with the answering and time management techniques. Because as I mentioned earlier, although I'm asking you to allocate 15 to 20 minutes to develop an answer plan, when you try to do it for the first time, you take 40 to 45 minutes. That's normal. So the first 2 mocks are there to get your bearings with the answering and time management techniques. But from the 3rd mock onwards, things should get serious. So that's why we are providing feedback from mock 3 onwards. So let me quickly show you the type of feedback we provide at TCS. So as you can see, on a paragraph by paragraph basis, I've provided my evaluations so that the student has the chance to really understand the shortcomings and overcome each of these shortcomings when moving ahead with the preparation process. So that's exactly what you can see throughout these answer scripts. Every paragraph had been evaluated, and at the very end, I will be providing mark allocations as well on a subtask by subtask basis. And also, we are providing a success rate, which indicates the subtasks in which your performance is up to par, as well as the subtasks in which your performance is substandard. So after you receive tutor feedback, what you are supposed to do is, rather than attempting the mock once more, allocating 3 hours and attempting the mock once more, you are supposed to simply focus on developing answer plans. And when developing answer plans, again, you are not supposed to develop answer plans for the entire mock exam. Instead, simply focus on the subtasks in which your performance was not up to standard. So if you look at these students' feedback, this student has been successful in just 3 subtasks. That's exactly why he ended up failing this examination or mock exam. Although the student failed this mock exam, at the real exam, this individual gained 90 marks, thereby comfortably passing. Why did how did this individual achieve 90 marks? Because of the feedback he received. So after receiving the tutor feedback, this individual ended up redeveloping answer plans for the subtasks in which the success rate was low. That's the best type of revision you need to focus on. And once you do that, you can easily improve your answer planning techniques, improve your skill set, and you just need to replicate the same at your real exam. And at the very end, we are providing general comments as well, so that you really understand ways you are supposed to improve the quality of your answers. So that's the type of feedback you'd receive if you go for the premium package. You'd also gain access to answer plans of all mock exams, all 5 mocks. So these answer plans are actually study summaries of all 5 mocks. So you need not go through pages and pages of suggested answers and try to develop your own short notes or study summaries or answer plans. We have done it for you. No other a content provider or a service provider is giving you this opportunity. So rather than going through pages and pages of suggested answers, you can simply refer to the answer plans. You'd see what our answer plans look like in a while. So once you go through an answer plan, you are in a position to easily understand the structure of the answer, how theory or theoretical elements had been brought in, and how these theoretical elements had been applied considering the information in the scenario. And you are in a position to also understand how you are supposed to develop answers by considering mark allocations on a subtask by subtask basis. And on top of that, most importantly, the premium package comes with 20 master classes. So within these master classes, I'm explaining the logic behind each and every answer. At the same time, I'm teaching you theory, as well as ensuring you know how to apply theory considering the information presented in the scenario. I said that the premium package is developed for students who are coming through the exemption route or students who had failed. And I said that most students coming through the exemption route, or the type of students who end up failing, they fail because they lack an in-depth understanding about theoretical knowledge. So that's exactly what we are trying to bridge by developing these master classes. So there are 20 tasks in total within the 5 mocks which we have developed, and focused on each and every task. We have developed master classes, and as I mentioned earlier, we are teaching the logic behind each answer via these master classes whilst teaching you theory. So you need not spend a lot of time to learn theory. This is the most effective and easiest way to learn theory as well as improve your application skills. And this package, the premium package, comes with the pass guarantee. So if you end up purchasing the premium package and still end up failing, which is highly unlikely, but yet if you end up failing, you'd gain access to the same package, premium package, in your subsequent sitting free of charge. However, in order to claim the pass guarantee, you have to complete these things. You have to complete all 5 mock exams, because if you do not complete all 5 mock exams, you are not in a position to cover the entire syllabus. Without covering the entire syllabus, you cannot pass your exam. And on top of that, your answers need to be original. You cannot go through suggested answers, or you cannot copy and paste suggested answers. If you do, you are cheating yourself. If you cheat yourself, you are not actually improving your answering skills, answer planning, or answering techniques, time management techniques. So if that is the case, you cannot claim the pass guarantee. And on top of that, you have to meet the performance criteria, where you need to achieve more than 40% when it comes to mocks 3, 4, and 5. Why have we come up with this? To ensure that you are serious about developing answers for mocks 3, 4, and 5. Because when we are providing you with in-depth evaluations and tutor feedback, if you're not giving your 100%, if you're not trying your level best, you cannot improve. So in order to ensure that you are giving your 100% when attempting mocks 3, 4, and 5, we have come up with this performance criteria. So after achieving all these three things, there's absolutely no way that you'd end up failing the exam. Still, if you do, you'd gain access to the premium package in your subsequent sitting free of charge. And you can, pay in full and save £100. So the price of the package is £549. Or else you can pay in 2 installments as well. If that is the case, the price is £649 divided across 2 months, and each installment would be £324 each. Okay, and by clicking on this button, keep track of the weekly study plan as well, because I've explained the study plan in the first webinar. If you missed out on it, please go watch the recorded version. Then you'd know what you're supposed to do on a weekly basis. So, on a weekly basis, keep track of your performance. Try to understand where you are, what you're expected to do. So, for instance, if I simplify, if I simply say what you're supposed to do on a weekly basis, things are quite easy. You just need to allocate 7 hours of study time per week. So it's just your real responsibility is allocating 3 hours, sitting in one place and attempting a mock per week. Everything else is handled by us. So you attempt, let's assume you are attempting mock number 3 on a Tuesday. On Wednesday, you are supposed to watch the master classes. By Thursday, within 48 minutes, 48 hours rather, you'd receive tutor feedback. Then by Thursday, you'd know what your shortcomings are. And on Friday, you are supposed to redevelop answer plans focused on the subtasks where your success rate is low. And towards the weekend, you are simply supposed to attend the webinar or the workshop which we have scheduled. Other than that, you are not supposed to do anything else. So it's quite simple. Your real responsibility is attempting a mock per week, and the rest is about referring to tutor feedback and watching master classes in order to learn theory and improve application skills. And if you stick to the study plan, a week before the exam, when everybody else is scrambling for time, when all the other students are under extreme levels of stress, when they are trying to attempt mock exams, you are not doing that. You are simply supposed to refer to the answer plans. So you are revising through all 5 mock exams within a short period of time. You are reminding yourself how to, develop answer plans, how to structure your answers and whatnot. And then you are supposed to reread the annotated pre-scene and attend the final Q&A. So your life becomes extremely easy closer to the exam. So these are the type of services we offer at TCS. I hope you'd utilize these services so that you can achieve a first time pass. So having said that, we are moving towards the discussion of the mini mock. Before I move into it, I've received 2 questions. Give me a second, please. I'm going to pause the recording once more. All right. Thank you for the question. I hope I addressed your concern, Silala. All right. So I'm going to move into the discussion of the mini mock. So you can find this mini mock via our website under the free content. So your typical exam paper consists of 4 main tasks. However, within the mini mock, we have just, come up with 2 tasks, and the time allocation is 45 minutes each. and there are 3 subtasks in each section, and the weightages are provided. So based on the weightages, I said you are supposed to determine how many marks are allocated on a subtask by subtask basis. So I'm going to focus your attention towards section number 2, because this is a P1 heavy section. I said that a high level of prominence is provided for P1 at your exam. So that's exactly why I'm focusing on this question. And this is a question which is based on variance analysis, and most students get this wrong, because although you know how to calculate variances at the OCS exam, you are not supposed to calculate anything. Instead, your job is to evaluate the numbers provided. Okay, so if I scroll down, information pertaining to different types of variances, sales price variance, sales mix profit variance, and sales quantity profit variances are provided. You are supposed to evaluate or explain these figures. You're not supposed to calculate anything. So when it comes to this, most students are clueless of how to do it, because as I mentioned earlier, just because you know your theory, you won't pass this exam. You need to use your theory and apply your theoretical knowledge considering the information presented within the scenario. So you'd understand how to do it once I take you through this answer. Okay, so let's read the question first. Section number 2, 45 minutes is the time allocation. Today is the 2nd of April 2024, and Personal Best has carried out the quarterly performance review. You receive the following email from your finance manager. So as I mentioned earlier, the CIMA examiner tries to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So you are reporting to the finance manager, and hence you are receiving this email. So the subject goes as variance analysis and redundancies. Okay, I was going through the variance analysis which you submitted recently with regards to protein bars. To gain an in-depth understanding of the variances, I had a chat with Penny Sanchez, our sales and marketing director, and she provided me with information which appears on reference material 2. Please refer to the attachment. So just like your normal business environment, when you receive an email, it comes with an attachment which carries additional information. That's exactly what you can see in here. So let's look at the reference material. There was a quality issue with our peanut protein bar range. Okay, this is one of the product categories which we manufacture. So there had been a quality issue. So what is this about? Some of the ingredients purchased for the manufacture of the peanut protein bar range was found to be expired. So the raw material, some of the raw material had expired. These ingredients were sourced from a new supplier who did not conduct appropriate quality checks before supplying. We have resolved the issue, but it led to a shortage of peanut protein bars in the market. So there had been a shortage of peanut protein bars in the market. Why? Because we had purchased, outdated stocks. So because of that, we had to cease production for some time. Okay, to manage. So when there's a shortage, when our customers love us, and when they are asking for our products, when we are not in a position to supply to them, it affects our reputation in a negative manner. So to manage reputational damage, the marketing department initiated a media campaign so that we can drive sales in the future. After the media campaign, and a 20% discount was announced. So we had run a media campaign, and on top of that, a 20% discount was announced with the intention of addressing the reputational damage. So that's the first point. Moving on to the second point, we ran a marketing campaign focused on our almond protein bars, at the same time offering a discount of 10% on retail price. So in order to drive sales of our almond protein bar range, we had run a marketing campaign, at the same time offered a 10% discount. Third point, organic cashews were introduced within cashew protein bars, which received an excellent review in a leading fitness magazine, FitU. The price was increased by $2 per bar due to the inclusion of the organic cashew. So this is, something similar to this was mentioned within your pre-scene document. So that's exactly why I said our mocks are exam standard and pre-scene specific. So within the pre-scene, towards the end of the pre-scene, once you go through the annotated pre-scene as well as the pre-scene analysis videos, you'd understand what I'm talking about. So towards the very end of the pre-scene, it indicates information about the company planning to introduce an organic range. So we had, according to this information, we had actually done it. And because of that, we had received our organic range had received an excellent review within one of the fitness magazines, and because of that, we had increased the price of these organic range by $C too. Why? Because when you include organic cashews, it's expensive when compared to normal cashews. So in such an environment, you have to increase the price. Information pertinent to sales variances are as follows. The variances were calculated using the individual units method. Okay. So the three different product categories have been mentioned: peanut, almond, and cashew. And the budgeted sales in units had been provided. So in total, we were expected to sell 1.16 million units. However, looking at the actual sales, it's actually for the peanut range, when we were supposed to sell 670,000 units, we have only sold 201,000. Why? Because of this quality issue which we faced with the raw material. And moving on to the almond range, when we were supposed to sell 290,000 units, we ended up selling more than what was budgeted for, which is good. We ended up selling 298,700 units. And looking at the cashew range, we planned to sell 200,000 units. And again, we exceeded the budgets, thereby selling 210,000 units. However, in total, the actual sales was way below the budgeted sales. Why? Because of the issue with the peanut range. And the budgeted sales prices have been provided, and the budgeted profit per unit have been provided. So you can see that the most profitable is the peanut range, and the least profitable is the cashew range. And based on these information, variances had been calculated, and variances, the sales price variance, sales mix profit variance, and the sales quantity profit variance for each product category had been provided. So you are supposed to explain all these numbers considering the information provided in here. So that's exactly why I said, just because if you don't know theory, you cannot pass this exam. You cannot develop an answer because you won't know what these variances are. Okay. However, just because you know your theory, if you do not know to apply your theoretical knowledge, considering the information provided within the scenario, then again, you cannot pass. So when developing the answer, when explaining each of these variances, you need to consider all this information provided. Okay. So let's look at the requirement. Explain how each variance was calculated, highlighting why these variances occurred and what they tell us about market conditions. So this subtask consists of two main elements. First things first, you are supposed to explain how each variance was calculated. Then you are supposed to highlight why these variances occurred and what they tell us about market conditions. Okay. So the weightage provided is 45%. So I've read through the scenario. Now let's move on to the answer plan. Okay, so I'm going to focus on the answer plan for task number 2. You can access this answer plan under the free content via our website. So, that's exactly what I'm using in here. So question number 2, total mark allocation is 37.5 marks per task. So I said your main point or your main intention needs to be to understand how many marks are allocated on a task by task basis. Sorry, subtask by subtask basis based on the weightages provided. So the weightage provided is 45%. So 45% of 37.5 marks is 17 marks. So 17 marks, when you know that 17 marks are allocated, you know for a fact per point you get something like 2 marks. So you need to have something like 8 to 9 points or 7 to 8 points. I would say 7 to 9 points within your answer plan. Okay. So that's what these marks indicate. Then I said, in order to understand the requirement clearly, it's prudent that you reiterate the requirement in your own words in a concise manner. So that's exactly what I've done here. As I mentioned earlier, you are supposed to focus on two main elements as per this requirement. However, when developing your answer plan, when you have to keep reading the entire sentence, it's a cumbersome process. It leads to confusions. So in order to make your life easier, in order to better understand the requirement, have a clear view about the requirement, you are supposed to reiterate it in a simpler form in your own words. Explain variances, how to calculate. That's your requirement. So once you know this, you need not refer back to the requirement and keep reading it over and over again. Why am I asking you to do this? With the intention of ensuring that you really understand what's, what we are supposed to achieve. And on top of that, if, for instance, if you look at the second subtask, the requirement goes on for 2 lines. And when you try to keep reading these 2 lines over and over again, whilst, developing your answer plan, it leads to inefficiencies. Instead, keep it simple. Planning versus operational variances relate to the scenario. That's it. It's quite simple. Then you know what you're expected to do. Okay. And the same could be said about the third subtask. Hope you can describe how these probable redundancies can be handled in an ethical manner. Handling redundancies ethical. Keep it simple. Okay. So once you have reiterated the requirement, you know what you're supposed to achieve, then it's just a matter of focusing on your answer plan. So as I mentioned earlier, let me remind you about the time allocation. So the time allocation on a task by task basis is 45 minutes per task. So the time allocation for the answer plan is 20 minutes per task. And the time allocation for typing or expanding the answer plan is 25 minutes per task. Okay. So let's move on to the answer plan. So I said you need to come up with a main heading per main task. Per subtask. So that's exactly what you can see in here. Sales variance report, protein bar range, which is in bold and underlined format. And this requirement consists of 3 main subtasks. So the second subtask, I've come up with a main heading, which goes as planning and operational variance, which is again in bold and underlined format. And for the third subtask, I've come up with a main heading, which is in bold and underlined format. And within it, since I thought it's prudent to further fraction out the answer, I've come up with subheadings, which is just in bold format. So for each variance, I've come up with a subheading. That's exactly what you can see in here. Okay, so your requirement, what is the requirement? Explain each variance and mention how to calculate. So I've started my answer by mentioning how to calculate the sales price variance, because as per the reference material provided, that's the first type of variance provided. Okay. So sales price variance, how are you supposed to calculate it? You need to memorize this. There's no way out of it. You need to understand the difference between the actual selling price and the budgeted selling price, and multiply it by the actual sales volume. Okay. So looking at the sales, price variances, it's adverse for the peanut and almond ranges. However, it's, favorable for the cashew range. So you need to understand what's highlighted in here, all the information highlighted here. So as per what I mentioned earlier, focused on the peanut protein bar range, we offered a 20% discount. So when we were supposed to sell our, protein bars at, the peanut protein bars at $21, we did not sell it at $21. Instead, we sold it at a lesser price. So according to this formula, our actual selling price was lesser than the budgeted selling price. When the budgeted selling price was $21, our actual selling price was way less than that, or 20% less than that. So when that occurs, it leads to an adverse variance. Why? Because when we were supposed to sell it at $21, when we sell it for less, then it leads to an adverse sales price variance. So that should be said about the peanut range, and the same could be said about the almond range as well, because we offered a 10% discount on the almond range. Again, when we were supposed to sell almond protein bar at $21, the actual sales price was lesser by 10%. So in such an environment, it leads to an adverse variance. And when looking at the organic cashew range, cashew protein bars, since we included organic cashews, we increased the price by $2 per bar. So again, when we were supposed to sell the cashew protein bar at $21, we actually sold it for a higher price, $23. So the actual selling price was $23 minus the budgeted selling price $21 into actual sales volume. It gives us a favorable variance. So that's exactly what you can see in here. Okay. So that's what you are supposed to mention within your answer. It's simple as that. So sales price variance, it's adverse for peanut and almond. Why? You need to say why. 20% discount offered on peanut bar to address reputational damage. So keep it simple when planning out your answer. Keep it simple, keep it concise. You can use bullet points if you want, because this is not the fully fledged answer. You are, spending some time to plan out your answer or structure your answer, or try to think what you need to include within your fully fledged answer. Okay. So keep it simple. 20% discount was offered on the peanut range. When a discount is offered, the actual selling price is lesser than the budgeted. So because of that, it becomes, the sales price variance becomes adverse. And again, on the almond range, a 10% discount was offered with the intention of boosting sales. And the sales price variance is favorable for the cashew bars. Why? Because we charged an additional price of $2 per bar because we included organic cashews. So that's the answer for the sales price variance. Then moving on to the sales mix profit variance. Again, you need to start the answer by mentioning how to calculate it. So the formula is actual sales into budgeted mix minus actual sales into standard profit per unit. Again, you need to memorize this. There's no way out of it. Okay. So when calculating the sales mix profit variance, we need to identify the products with the highest and lowest profitability. So as the name suggests, this gives us an indication about the sales mix, which affects our profitability. So when selling these three products, it's a mix. We consider it to be a product mix or a sales mix. So when selling these three different types of products, based on the quantity we sell and based on the profitability of each product we sell, the total profitability of the company will be affected. So as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, the budgeted profit per unit for each of the product ranges differs significantly across each product. So the most profitable is the peanut range, as well as the least profitable is the cashew range. So it's profitable for the company to sell the most profitable, a higher number of, or a higher quantity of the most profitable products. But if you look at the numbers, that is not the case. Our most profitable product range is the peanut range. When we were supposed to sell 670,000 units, we only ended up selling 201,000 units. So we had sold an extremely lower amount or an extremely lower quantity of peanut protein bars when it's the most profitable out of the three ranges. So this leads to a situation where our sales mix profit variance will be in total adverse. So that's exactly what you can see in here. And if you look at the least profitable product, which is the cashew range, when we were supposed to sell 200,000 units, we have exceeded our budgeted sales. Although that is the case, our total sales mix profit variance is adverse. Why? Because there's a significant drop in sales of our most profitable product category. So in such an environment, you'd see an adverse sales mix profit variance. Why? Because when we were supposed to sell 670,000 units of our most profitable product category, we just sold 1/3 of it, or achieved sales amounted to 201,000 units. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to highlight within your answer. So in order to understand the sales mix profit variance, as I mentioned earlier, we need to identify products with the highest and lowest profitability. If the most profitable products are sold, according to the information, if the most profitable product is the peanut range, so if the most profitable products are sold, the sales mix profit variance will be favorable. On the other hand, if the least profitable products are sold, which is cashew bars, as I mentioned earlier, then the sales mix profit variance will be adverse. Okay, why? We had achieved a lesser profitability by selling a higher number of our least profitable units. And when looking at the numbers, we have exceeded sales budgets for almond and cashew bars. So when we were supposed to sell 290,000 units, we ended up selling 298,700 units of the almond range. Same could be said about the cashew range. When we were supposed to sell 200,000 units, we ended up selling 210,000. So we have exceeded our sales budgets for the least profitable product categories almond and cashew. Okay, so that is why we can see a favorable sales mix variance. See, for these two product categories, almond and cashew, the sales mix profit variance is favorable. Why? Because we had exceeded our budgets or exceeded the quantity targets. Okay. And why did it lead to a higher amount of these products getting sold? We offered a 10% discount and ran a marketing campaign on almond bars. It's mentioned in here. We ran a marketing campaign focused on almond protein bars, at the same time offering a 10% discount on retail price. Okay. That led to a higher quantity of almond bars being sold, as well as when looking at the cashew range, we received an excellent magazine review for cashew bars, which led to a higher amount of, or a higher quantity of our products being sold. Okay, so that's the reason for the favorable sales mix variance of the almond and cashew bars. However, we did not achieve the sales budget for the peanut bars, which led to the adverse, significantly adverse sales mix profit variance. Even this is even after us offering a 20% discount and running a marketing campaign. Mind you, when you run a marketing campaign, you are losing money. That's an expense for the company. As well as when you offer 20% discount, again, you are losing out on your margin. It's an expense for the company. And when we had spent money for the marketing campaign, when we had reduced our margins, still we did not achieve our sales budget. And mind you, this is the most profitable product category. That is why we are exposed to a significantly adverse sales mix profit variance. Why? We ended up spending money, but we did not reap the rewards. So because of that, the overall sales mix profit variance is adverse. Although we exceeded sales budget of the least profitable bars, almond and cashew, we sold an extremely low amount of the most profitable bars, which is the peanut range. So because of that, the overall sales mix profit variance is extremely adverse. Okay, so that's that. Then moving on to the last area, sales quantity profit variance. Again, I've started my answer by mentioning how to calculate this. So this is calculated as the actual sales at the budgeted mix minus budgeted sales into the standard profit per unit. Again, you have to memorize this. And if you look at the total sales quantity profit variance, it's adverse, and it's again adverse across all three product ranges. So let's try to figure out why this is. We sold only 709,700 bars in total when we were expected to sell 1.16 million. So in total, when we were supposed to sell 1.16 million units of all three ranges, we only sold 709,700. So we are short by 450,000 units relative to the budget, which is a significant drop. So in such an environment, the total sales quantity profit variance will be adverse. So as the name suggests, sales quantity, we are trying to understand. So previously we looked at the product mix and how it affects our profitability. Now we are looking at the sales quantity and how it affects our profitability. Hence the term sales quantity profit variance. Okay. So looking at the SQPV of the sales quantity profit variance of each product, it's adverse across all ranges. Why is this the case? Mainly given the fact that the sales quantity profit variance becomes adverse across all ranges when we sell a lesser amount of units in total against the budget. So remember, when the actual sales, if it's lesser than the total budgeted sale, then the sales quantity profit variance will be adverse across all product ranges. So if you look at an individual basis, we exceeded budgets for almond as well as quantity budgets for almond and cashew. However, the differences are minute or marginal. And when looking at the peanut range, there's a significant drop in sales. So because of that, it affects our sales quantity profit variance in an adverse manner across all three product ranges. So we sold less units in total against the budget. Although we exceeded sales budgets in almond and cashew, there's a it's a marginal increase. Although this is the case, there's a significant drop in sales of peanut bars. This was due to the quality issue, and it has had an overriding effect on sales quantity across the board. So that's what the sales contribution profit variance tells us. Okay, so it's quite simple. In order to develop this answer, you need to know your theory. You need to know what each of these variances tell us, and how to calculate each of these variances. That's your theoretical knowledge coming in. Then I said, just because you know theory, you cannot pass this exam. You need to relate to the information provided, or consider the information provided, then apply it when developing your answer. That's exactly what I've done here. So you are supposed to do something similar to this. Mind you, you won't get this right when you do it for the first time, but once you attempt the mock exam, and once you receive tutor feedback, and once you watch the master classes, you'd easily understand the logic behind each answer. You'd learn theory, as well as you'd significantly improve your application skills. So just like how I explain the answer within this webinar, in each masterclass, I've explained the logic behind the answer. I've taught theory, as well as explained, ensured how ensured you understand application skills. So since we are running out of time, I just paste up kept the paste up when providing explanations, but within the master classes, I've gone on for extended evaluations and explanations, so that you can easily understand theory and improve your application skills at the same time. Okay, so likewise, you are supposed to develop answer plans. Although this looks quite simple, you can't get it right in the first instance itself. You need some practice. So keep practicing these answering and time management techniques when attempting each of the mock exams. And if you do, there's absolutely no way that you'd fail the exam, because you had practiced before attempting your real exam. So that's throughout this document, you can easily see what this answer plan is. So you're supposed to structure the answer, keep it simple when developing the answer plan. And once you have done it, you are supposed to, utilizing the remaining time, which is 25 minutes, expand each of the answers which you have mentioned in paragraph form, so that you come up with your fully fledged answer. So the suggested answer of this mini mock can be accessed via our website. Okay, any questions, folks? Did you understand what we are supposed to do? I hope you gained an in-depth understanding of answering and time management techniques and what it is about. I highlighted the technicalities behind it, as well as explained how to implement these techniques in a practical sense. Any questions, any doubts? I'm going to pause the recording. All right, Portia, thank you very much for that question. So where is this? As I mentioned earlier, you are supposed to develop an answer plan. So when developing the answer plan, you are supposed to come up with the answer structure, or plan out your answer, so that you know what you're supposed to type. And once you have a plan, once you have spent time to strategize your answer, then your life becomes easy. Because when it comes to the latter part of our answering technique, which is about expanding the answer plan, you are simply supposed to type. There's no thinking involved. So this is the answer plan, and this is the suggested answer. Oops, yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, for each point, you are supposed to come up with a paragraph. So throughout this document, you can see I've provided answers in paragraph format. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. So it's simply about expanding the answer plan which we have provided. So if I focus your attention towards the sales price, answer pertaining to the sales price variance, I've mentioned the fact that the sales price variance is calculated as actual selling price less budgeted selling price multiplied by the actual sales volume. In our case, the sales price is adverse for products peanut and almond. This is because we offered a 20% discount per peanut bar to mitigate reputational damage. That's exactly what I've mentioned within the answer plan. Further, to boost sales volumes, a 10% discount was offered on almond bars, thereby bringing down the actual price to approximately $90. However, the sales price variance is favorable for cashew bars due to personal-based charging an additional price of $2 per bar, given the inclusion of organic cashews. So it's the same thing. I've reiterated or expanded the answer plan in paragraph format. Did I address your concern, Portia?
Yeah, I understood very well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I'm going to pause the recording once more. All right, folks. So if you have any questions, please drop me a message on the chat so that I can address your concerns. So until you do it, let me remind you about what we have achieved. So in the year 2022, we are proud to say that we achieved 4 anchors, and this time we compiled the pass rate for November 2023, the recently concluded examination. So in it, we are happy to say that we achieved an 89% pass rate. So all the students who stuck to our study plan, even if they purchase the value pack, if you stick to the study plan and if you do what's necessary on a weekly basis, you can easily achieve a first time pass, and all our students who invested on the premium package easily passed the examination. So that's exactly what you can see from this feedback. Last time we had a student who achieved 117 marks for OCS. So when the pass mark is just 80, this student ended up getting 117. So on a continuous basis, we are coaching students to gain more than 100 marks. So although this is the case, this student did not get really good marks when attempting the mock exams. That's totally normal because you are attempting a mock exam for the first time, focusing on a certain syllabus content or syllabus area for the first time. So you won't get it right. But after you watch the master classes and focus on redeveloping the answer plans in the subtasks in which your performance was low, and closer to the exam when you go through the answer plans, that's the type of revision you need to gain extremely good marks and achieve an easy pass. Okay, so I invite you guys to stick to a similar approach in order to achieve a first time pass. And if you had failed previously, there's absolutely nothing to worry. Our study resources are developed with the intention of ensuring that you learn theory as well as significantly improve your application skills. So even if you're coming through the exemption route, you need not worry. Any questions? All right. I think there aren't any more questions, so I'm gonna conclude the session. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. And via the website, you can gain access to the free content. So under the free content, you'd gain access to the recorded versions of the webinars. So if you had missed out on any of the webinars, please go watch the recorded versions. These are extremely important. It carries technical information which you need to be conversant about. So you'd gain access to the 4 recorded versions, the mini mock, its answer plan, and the suggested answer. Okay, so that make use of the free resources which we provide, and if necessary, I invite you guys to invite you guys to invest rather on your preferred package as well. You can email us if you want to reach us via info@study@tcs.com, or simply you can drop us a message on WhatsApp. We are always ready to help you via the number 7898464196. And I invite you guys to follow us on our social media handles, especially TikTok, and the recorded versions will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel as well. So if you check out TikTok, it consists of 3 videos, which is a good summary of the entire pre-seed. So rather than trying to remember the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-seed, we have made your life easier. We have developed 3 TikTok videos. So within 6 to 7 minutes, you can easily constantly keep reminding yourself about the most important points highlighted within the pre-scene. So at your real exam, this is going to be extremely beneficial for you. it's extremely easy for you to remember these points when you keep watching them on a daily basis. So I invite you guys to keep watching these three TikTok videos on a continuous basis, so that you'd remember the points which are mentioned within the pre-scene. So having said that, thank you very much, Selala, for your kind words. So having said that, it brings us to the end of this webinar. I hope you guys gained a lot from this webinar. And as I mentioned earlier, just because you know answering and time management techniques, you can't get it right. You need to keep practicing these techniques in order to champion it, in order to be in a position to develop an answer plan within 15 to 20 minutes. And in order to understand how to expand the answer plan within 25 minutes, you need to keep practicing. So I'm not asking you to practice too much, just attempt the 5 mocks which we have developed. Everything else is handled by us. So thank you very much. I'll see you guys next week, next Sunday, where we are conducting the 4th webinar. And if you're planning on sitting for your exam in Feb, you have to start preparations right now. Do not wait until the last moment. Do not wait until the last 3 weeks to start your preparations or start attempting mock exams. If that is the case, you'd rushed everything, and that's not the best approach to adhere to. So start preparations now itself so that you can relax closer to the exam. Thank you, guys. I'll see you guys next week.